Hi, my name is Ockert, a warm welcome. I've decided to tell you a little bit about myself and why we're doing what we're doing, and hopefully I'm trusting that it will actually liberate your thinking and experience different results. I started out my life as a youngster on the farm. My dad was a builder, and at that specific stage there wasn't a lot of work out there, and so they traveled from town to town, and my dad didn't believe in children going from school to school, so I actually lived with my grandfather on the farm, which was a tremendous experience. My grandfather was a wonderful person. I remember very well, he was a researcher at Onderstepoort, and when he came back afternoons from work, he took me and my auntie, she's actually my sis, she's a year older than me, so we grew up as brother and sister on the farm. Took us out in the veld. We laid in a blanket there and we watched the clouds and so forth, and we had to make pictures of the animals and so forth and so on. But Opa grew up in the Moller, and he grew up with the Bushmans, so you could actually sit in his haunches for hours on end. And he took us out on the farm and showed us flowers and so forth, and we had to describe the flowers to him, how it looked, and he said, well, a flower is a flower. I mean, if you're 5 and 6 years old, a flower is a flower. But he taught us the colors of the flowers and actually being aware of what it actually entails and so forth. And then there was one lesson that I will never forget in my life. It's been with me forever, and I always teach that to my students also. There was a pile of cow dung in the veld, and there was a beautiful little flower that grew out of that cow dung, a white flower. And we sat there around that cow dung, and he said to us, what do you actually see? And we said, well, we see cow dung. And he says, but what do you actually see? And we said, cow dung. And he said, what do you actually see? Cow dung with a flower on it. And we're having this conversation. We had to explain to him what the cow dung looked like and the flower looked like. And then he said, I want to teach you a lesson in regards to what you're seeing here that you have to remember for the rest of your life. And he said, out of the greatest pile of shit, the most beautiful flower can grow. And I've remembered that always, and I always share that with people. It doesn't matter where you are, how difficult your situation is, out of that difficult situation can be born a beautiful aspect and so forth. My grandfather died when I was in grade 4, and we moved to town, and I started living with my dad. And a couple of years later, my dad also died. I was 12 years old in standard 6, and I remember my dad, like in yesterday, saying, I don't believe in insurance, and I'm not going to allow other people to spend my money when I'm dead. So when he died, there wasn't money. My mother didn't work, and like the older people, women were supposed to make babies and bring the babies up. But she had to go work. She started working as a sales lady, a shoe sales lady, earned $40 a month, and she had to look after me and 2 younger sisters, and there wasn't enough money. I must just go back a little bit and just say something in regards to that, and most probably you'll understand better why I'm doing what I'm doing. At my dad's funeral, standing next to the grave, one very well-meaning family member came to me and said to me, put his arm on my shoulder and said to me, Ockert, you have to realize now that you are the man of this family, so you have to look after your mother and your sisters. I was 12 years old. I mean, I wasn't emotionally ready for that. And that influenced for a huge amount of time my life and the experience that I had through that. So my mother got involved with a man, had a lot of money, series of pawn shops and so forth, but he was a sadist. He was an alcoholic, and he actually beat up on my mother, beat up on myself, and my younger sister ran away from home, got into in trouble, drugs and all the stuff that went with it, terrible times and so forth. And I remember Omanus, he was a Northern Transvaal boxing champion, and every afternoon coming home from school, he had a boxing ring in his garage. Took me in there, put the boxing gloves on. I was a youngster, 14 years old, and he actually beat the crap out of me every afternoon. I actually hated him with a passion that you cannot really explain in words. When I was 16 years old, I decided I've had it. But during that specific time, in regards to that, I many times ran away from it, not ran away from it, I just left home at 7 o'clock and came back at 2 or 3 in the morning just to not be in that environment. And oftentimes walking into my bedroom, going to sleep, I heard something underneath my bed. And as I looked underneath my bed, my mother was lying there. She was sleeping underneath my bed. She was actually hiding from Omanus. Eyes were swollen, mouth was broken, and so on. And when I was 16 years old, my last year in school, March, I decided I'm out of here. So what I did is I went in our garage, took a pick, took out the handle, put it next to our kitchen back door, went into Omanus and my mother's bedroom, and I actually were looking for trouble with him. And I remember him jumping out of bed and saying, today I'm going to kill the son of you, he said to my mother. And I ran away, but I had a plan, you see. So I ran away, and he ran after me, and as I ran out of the kitchen door, he ran after me, and I picked up the pick handle, and I was fully in, my intention was to kill him that day. So I would have done that if our neighbor didn't jump over the fence and stop me in regards to that. Okay, it was over, and I said, okay, I'm out of here. 16 years old, left home, started working. 17 years old, started my first business, went bankrupt when I was 70 years old, because the army got hold of me. And came back from the army, started working again. But what happened with the honors and the stuff that went down there, I had a very, very, very low self-esteem. I actually stuttered. I couldn't speak properly, you know, like that kind of thing. I remember when my friends made jokes with me about my stuttering, I always said to them, laugh your head against the wall, you know, that kind of thing. And we were at a party. I was 18 years old, just left the army and so forth, being in business. And peer pressure, some of my buddies asked me to drink a beer, and I said I will never drink alcohol, because I saw what alcohol could do to families and so forth. But, you know, peer pressure said, drink a beer, man, come on, it's just some beer. So I actually took a beer, and I drank a beer. And the second beer and the third beer, and when the fourth beer arrived, I stopped stuttering. And it was a fun thing, because for many years I just stuttered, and the low self-esteem was also gone, because the alcohol just kicked in a better self-esteem for me. And what happened in the process is the one beer became 6 beers, and the 6 beers became half a bottle, and half a bottle became a bottle, and the bottle eventually became 3 bottles. So my life was actually you know, like a seesaw. It went well, and it went bad, went well, went bad. I was very wealthy in the first, when I was 20 years old, I landed a contract, a building contract, and I became a millionaire. I wasn't ready for that, emotionally ready for that. I wasn't even emotionally ready for the construction business I ran. I had 350 people working for me, and it went well, and it went bad, and all the stuff that goes with it. So eventually I lost my money, made the money back. At one stage, my wife decided to divorce me, not the current one, the previous one. She divorced me. I ran into my current wife, and so, but it was still going up and down, drinking too much, got into fights. I was fighting more than I had breakfast every day. And in the mid-80s, I ran into Uncle Jim Rohn, and he taught me an enormous lesson in regards of finances. And I said to him, I have the ability, apparently, to make a lot of money and to lose it quickly. And he said, you have to realize that your self-worth will always determine your net worth. It took me another couple of years, about 10 years, before I actually learned that lesson about self-worth determining your net worth. He actually said to me, the size of your character will always determine the size of your wallet. All right, so that's it. But I still drank, and I had extramarital affairs and all the stuff that went with it. It was terrible for me. And my wife, I actually should give her a medal for sticking around with me. But in 1989, I ran into an energy that I cannot explain into words. I ran into this energy. Somebody prayed for me, and I became sober like instantaneously. I was drunk as a skunk when they prayed for me, and the next moment I was actually sober, like I'm standing here in front of you, sober. And I decided, okay, what I'm going to do is I want to give back to the community. The best way to do that is get rid of everything that I had, and went to Bible school, got a diploma in theology, and started a church. So there we go. I was teaching the people that the spits ran down my chin in regards to all the stuff that went with it. But the frustration kicked in there, and the realization that people don't always change when they apparently run into this concept which we call God. So I had a huge amount of problems with the mainstream church in regards of translations of the Bibles and so forth, and eventually decided to leave the church. And in the process, I ran into a concept which we all read from the Bible in Matthew 6, verse 6, that says, you have to enter into the inner room of yourself, and the Father that's in the secret will reveal you in the open. So I decided, if that's true, I have to actually investigate the reality of that. And as I started researching and investigating it, I ran into the concept of theta healing, and combining theta healing with inner room, going into inner room and so forth. Miracles started happening around me, and many of my students and clients call me the miracle man, not because I am the miracle man, but because miraculous experiences happen to them when they are interacting with me. So we decided to develop that, and in the process, get to the place where we are currently with the website. And my recommendation is download the book on the website, How to Become Unstoppable, and you'll read a little bit more about my history and the methods that I use to help people. There's thousands of people that are out there that actually are currently literally giving other people hope. And I think that we as human beings have all a calling in our lives, and that is to give other people hope. We have to give them hope. But we cannot give people hope unless we have hope ourselves. So I do trust that this little conversation that I had in regards of my history, and I can go on and on and on and on about what happened to me and how bad it was and so forth. The good thing was it did happen to me, because I would never have become the person that I am today if those things did not happen to me. There's an Eastern philosophy that says a person's roads are exactly as it should be. I would never have been the person I am today if it weren't for the stuff that I've experienced in my life that helped me to become the person that I am, and I can teach other people, don't give up. Hold on tight to your dreams and believe. Trust God. There's hope out there. And my recommendation is, if you have a problem with this, please contact us and we'll help you in regards to that, becoming the person that you intend yourself to be. Please download your copy of How to Become Unstoppable by clicking on the download button on the right hand of your screen. It's a gift from my heart to yours. You can get hold of us by clicking on the Contact Us button also on the right hand of your screen.